After a hard night of dancing to overly loud trap music while smoking that green and drinking until passing out unexpectedly, I woke up from partying the high school or college way with about 60 people. My small group of friends had passed out in a classroom while we were on our way back to the dorm rooms that were somehow in the same building as the actual school of some sort. A few people we didn't know, but had seen partying around us earlier were also passed out in the same room as us. It had about 30 desk and chair combos facing 2 whiteboards. To the left was the exit door in the front corner and 2 5-foot long by 3-foot tall windows. The floor is white and grey speckled tile. The ceiling has the classic government building look with the white drop ceiling tiles. The teacher's desk was placed in the right corner beside the whiteboard. There are 3 5x3 windows facing the parking lot outside and the field lined with trees just beyond that. As we all figure out how to unlock the door that we don't remember locking behind us the night before, I noticed that the classroom across the hall had about 18 people in it. Not a whole class worth, yet enough people to feel strange to me. One guy in our group seemed a bit wigged out, like he had a fear of being locked in, and he started banging on the window to get their attention to possibly help. Well, that got their undivided attention, and at the same time, they all turned their heads in the most predatory way possible and started to smash the glass of the 2 side-by-side windows that were about 3 feet off the ground and were about 5 feet across and 3 feet high. Fists and heads were crashing through the windows as they robotically moved in unison in our direction without breaking eye contact. Mind you, we are all looking over in horror and shock across the hall, and I quickly looked over to the outside windows at what looks like a parking lot for the school. It's completely vacant of cars, so my plan to break the 2nd floor window to jump out and make it to a getaway car was immediately squashed. I still struck an idea when my eyes caught sight of the side of a camouflage helicopter that was mostly out of view from my vantage point. As soon as I pointed it out to the other 15 ex-party goers, they seemed to have the same idea as I did. Maybe the military is here to save us. All we would have to do is figure out where in the building they would be and we would be safe. As the others witnessed the strange people start to break glass, we all moved to the wall that couldn't be seen from the windows and made sure to stay as quiet as possible so as to not continue to attract whatever those things were that had the soul drive to get to us. Once it was silent enough to feel comfortable peeking, I ducked under the skinny rectangle window on the door and side glanced through the bay window and can't believe what I saw. No blood from them breaking the window and climbing out. None of them to be seen on either end of the hallway, and no trace of the direction they had gone. The guy that had a fear of being locked in had calmed down due to the circumstances of our current situation, so I went to the teacher's desk and as silently as I could, grabbed a paperclip and bobby pin in hopes that I could somehow jimmy the lock free. Some dumb cheerleader type blonde was having a literal panic attack due to the anticipation of watching how slowly I was doing this, so she took over and was definitely not as quiet as I had been. As soon as the lock clicked open, I spotted a head lean out into the hall with that same stare as before, so I shoved the door open swiftly and we began sprinting in the opposite direction towards the nearest stairwell. I figured we would be safest to climb up instead of down, because what if whatever this is has spread outside the building? We were not prepared to deal with anything like this, especially being in a school with absolutely no weapons whatsoever. We get to the 4th floor with a few of those straggling weirdos a flight or 2 behind us. We ran through the stairwell doorway and into the hall without a second thought, and to our left was about 60 of those strange people. As we turned to our right, the military that we were on a mission to find began shooting the crazed group of people behind us. So we hugged the wall closer to the military in hopes they would get the ones that followed us up here as well. I then noticed something strange with them. Every member of the military group were wearing sunglasses inside. Mind you, it's dim due to nobody turning the lights on. Thankfully they did end up blasting whatever ran up the stairs as soon as they entered the hallway, but what happened next baffled me. They turned at the same time towards us but didn't lower their weapons. They started shooting and got maybe 5 of our group before we took the strapped guns off the military corpses and descended the stairs in the hopes that we would be able to make a better escape for whatever awaits us outside. Clearly the military had been taken over as well, but still had the willpower to complete their mission to eliminate everyone in the building without the critical thinking necessary to distinguish survivors from the general infected. They were definitely not there to save us as we had hoped. A few blocks away from the school was a high-end cul-de-sac. It seemed that all of the driveways were empty, as well as the first 3 houses that we encountered, so we decided to hunker down in the second one we came upon long enough to rest for a minute and fuel up with some left behind water and snacks. We all agreed that the tap water could be contaminated, so whatever bottled and jug water we found was stuffed into any bag we found to keep handy for later. As soon as I stepped onto the porch to finally take a much needed smoke break, I spotted a tank and about 15 armed Marines in formation approaching the area. Now needing a more sufficient form of transportation, I grabbed a bobsled from its decorative hanger and we attempted to fit as many of us with our bags on it as comfortable, while the rest of us pulled it to the crest of the hill so as to go as fast as possible on our descent with the added weight. As soon as the rest of the area started to come into view with the military slowly disappearing out of sight, I woke up ready to take on the world and whatever it had in store for me.